right, so here we have Bitcoin on Bybit on the 1 hour. Shout out to everybody that watches these videos on a daily basis because you were ahead of this move. Been talking about this bull trap, potential bull trap. As soon as we crossed back below this purple zone in this last low, you knew the bull trap was initiated and you stayed ahead of this move. So shout out to everybody that watches these videos on a daily basis. If you don't, subscribe to the channel. Click those bell notifications so you get notified with this time-sensitive content. All right, so let's move on. So you did your drop. You did initiate the bull trap, fell below all your major moving averages, even the 200. Came back up like we were talking about in the Discord. You were probably going to bounce up and test this 200, kind of front ran it a little bit. We'll find out whether we have another chance to come up and retest. I really don't think it gets back above 2,700, but if it does, we would have a chance to possibly work our way up to the 100 at 21,500. Now, if we can get above 21,500, that's going to change the scenario a little bit, and I think we could possibly come back up and make another high. That's the bullish scenario. That would also mean that we get up to the top of this bearish control zone and probably break out of it. I don't really see that happening. That's the lesser probability. Right now, your RSI, which is a momentum oscillator, is coming out of the oversold region, deep in the bearish control zone. We are above the signal line right now. MACD, fresh cross to the upside, positive momentum on the histogram. By the way, your MACD is also a momentum oscillator, judges bullish and bearish momentum. Your BBWP here, which measures volatility, printing high reads. Now we're below the moving average, consolidating a bit. So we could consolidate here for a bit. Now, if we do break these last wick lows, basically the middle of this previous range, I would expect us to come back down to the 19,500 level, get a bounce there, ultimately come down to 18,800, and then probably even lower. I would expect bounces in those areas, but ultimately I think we would go to 16K. That would also imply that we bounce around here in this bearish control zone. MACD crosses its signal line back to the downside, starts printing some dark red bars on the histogram as your BBWP turns around. It looks like it could turn around right now. So if it does get maybe back above this level right here and starts working its way up to the moving average, the move could happen sooner than later. We could still come up and get the retest at 2,600, 20,600. But ultimately, I think we would probably get a rejection from there if we haven't already front ran the retest. So like I said, if we break these last wicks at 20K on a 1 hour closure, probably going to come down to the 18,800 level. And then after that, I would expect another bounce at 18,000. Yeah, I meant 18,800, by the way. 18,000, and then ultimately 16 to 15K. And so, yeah, I mean, that's basically the bullish and bearish case in the short term for Bitcoin. Let's go to the 4 hour. Yeah, I mean, that momentum really spilled over into the 4 hour. We're deep in the bearish control zone below that signal line. MACD fresh cross to the 0 line and fresh cross to the downside of the signal line. Pretty fresh cross. Happened yesterday. Negative momentum on the histogram is still increasing. Looks like it's waning on 1 bar right now, but that's, yeah, I mean, it's pretty stable. So your BBWP is printing a high read above its moving average. I mean, honestly, man, it seems like we're going to come down. I mean, ultimately we could get a retest to the 20,700 level. Maybe the bottom of this range, right by where that 100 was coming in on the, well, right where that 200 was coming in the 21 on the 1 hour. But I think we would get rejected from there. All your momentum is pointing to the downside. Volatility is very high, still continuing to expand. And yeah, I mean, your momentum spilling over into the higher term time frames. I mean, even on the 8 hour, you're in the bearish control zone. Below your signal line, MACD, fresh cross to the downside of the signal line. Negative momentum on the histogram is increasing as your BBWP crosses its moving average again. The volatility has just begun. So, I mean, let's see what another, I mean, so far from a close to close basis, we went down 9%. So if we consolidate here for a while, possibly make some sort of bear flag, let's see what another 10% would be. Well, what do you know? Another 10% would lead you to 18K. So, I mean, that's in the cards right now. Let's go to the daily. On the daily, we are testing the top of the bearish control zone. If we enter this, 16Ks in the cards for sure. Fresh cross to the upside of the MACD, but your positive momentum is waning on the histogram, and you're curling over pretty hard on the MACD. BBWP is in the upper zone above its moving average. Like I said, the volatility has begun. So definitely stay nimble right now. Let's go back down to the 1 hour. So yeah, like I said, bullish case is that you get back above this VPVR level at 21,600 and the 100. If you can do that, I think you make a new high. And bearish case is that you break 20K on a 1 hour closure. I think you'd work your way down to 18.8, ultimately all the way down to 16K. All right, so let's move on to the Stokes and the order blocks. So you are in the oversold region, crossing your signal line again, so this thing could stay overextended for a while, which makes me think we could have another downside move. Now, you did bounce off of this bullish order block right here, and this POC point of control in the VPVR on the 4 hour. So we did expect to bounce exactly at this level. And we did expect to bounce up to basically where we're at, a little higher, but we basically front ran where we thought we were going to go. Closing below the Bollinger Bands, you did enter back into the Bollinger Band, so you are above the bottom band right now. But like I said, I think this is just a bounce. Now, depending on whether we get up higher or not, maybe best case scenario for the bulls is that this was one massive bull trap and now it's a bear trap. I do not think that's what's happening. I think this bull trap, like we were talking about, broke the levels. We're heading down. That's my opinion. I think we are heading down finally. Now, whether we come up and get the retest of the 21 and the 200 to 2600 is another story. All right, let's move on to Ethereum. By the way, if you guys are liking this video so far, like and subscribe to the channel. Check out the links in the description below, one being the Discord. Like I said, we stayed ahead of this move. And we usually do. We collectively figure out this market, and a lot of good conversations about crypto investing and trading. All right, so definitely join the Discord, and yeah, let's continue. So here on Ethereum, bounced directly off of our purple zone. We've had that purple zone drawn since up here. As soon as we broke through this purple zone and the 200, cascaded down. Your moving averages had a multi-cross over here, which would have got you, I mean, you would have got in at the bottom, but as long as your stop loss wasn't too tight, you would have caught this move as soon as these moving averages crossed. Now you are in the bearish control zone. Come on, TradingView. You are in the come on, motherfucker. You are in the bearish control zone, crossing your signal line to the downside. Basically right where we're at. We're converging against the signal line right now, so I mean, it's kind of, you're going to find out what happens. Right now, it doesn't look too good. MACD, fresh cross to the upside, but you're curling over. Positive momentum is waning a bit on the histogram. BBWP is below its moving average, but it's still in the upper zone. So if it curls around, basically if it breaks, I mean, you're in a range right now. This one's easy. Break the top, 1625. Probably going to come up to the 200. Maybe even the 50 and get rejected at 1655. You break the bottom of the range, 1575. Probably going to go down to 1350. In between 13 and 1350. I think this is the breakdown, and these are your bounces. So let's move on to the 4 hour. Yeah, your 4 hour, your negative momentum is cascading over into the 4 hour in the bearish control zone below the signal line. MACD fresh cross to the 0 line. Even your signal line is crossing the 0 line right now. Negative momentum, pretty stable. Waning a bit, but if we start printing some more dark red bars on that histogram, see, we have support or resistance right here at these last lows on the histogram. So we could get some sort of a bounce, continuous bounce. Best case scenario, I think, is that you come up to the 21 and the 50 at 1665. But honestly, I mean, it doesn't look like we're going to head up there. But that is the bullish scenario. I mean, you got a lot of moving averages coming in here. You are having another multi-cross. So, yeah, your 21 and your 50 are both crossing the 200 at the same time. Your 21's about to cross the 50. I do not think you get above this level. It's too much resistance. 1670 region. I do not think you get above there. Your BBWP is far above its moving average into the upper zone. So here comes the volatility. Volatility has begun. Let's go to the 8-hour. Bearish control zone below the signal line. MACD. Fresh cross to that 0 line. I mean, negative momentum is increasing, so I don't know if the bounce is over or not. It might be over. BBWP just got above its moving average, so here comes the volatility once again, and we're on the 8-hour now. All right, so it's the medium-term time frame is going to be a lot more significant. We are breaking the 200 right now. If we do break that 200 on an 8-hour closure, I do think we break the bottom of this purple. Man, my voice got real weird. I do think we break the bottom of this purple region at 1565. So yeah, I mean that's basically it. Ethereum looks like shit. Bitcoin looks like shit. Let's move on to Solana. Actually, let's go to check the Stokes on Ethereum real quick. So yeah, we got back into the bearish control zone, but now we're crossing the signal line again to the downside. Like I said before, this stuff can stay overextended for a while. I mean, look at this move right here. You were overextended all the way from here to here. I mean, you would have got wrecked by just buying blindly just because you entered the oversold region. This stuff can stay overextended for a while. So you are hitting a bullish order block right now. So that's why you're finding support. Also, you hit the bottom band. We did close back above it, but once again, when you start closing below this bottom band, it usually means you will continuously close below it. Well, the probability is more. And so you have to wait till when you get back into the band, usually you can expect some sort of bounce. All right. So if we come back down to the bottom of the band at 1560, which is in confluence with something else we were talking about, I think we would come back down to 1530, and then we'll come back to it. Let's move on to the 12-hour. 12-hour is stochastics pointing up, but it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while to catch up. I do think the 12-hour turns bearish. I do think this thing points back down. I do think we touched the oversold region. Now the daily. Daily's also pointed up. But like I said, soon as this 4-hour starts cascading into that 8-hour, it's all said and done. All right. So let's go to Solana. Here on Solana, best case scenarios is this double bottom. And then we get a bounce up to the 21 and the 200 at 34.30 and the bottom of this purple zone. That's the bullish case, because we are crossing the signal line to the upside where we're trying. MACD, fresh cross to the upside, but it's not, don't have a lot of follow through here. BBWP's coming down in the lower zone from a high read below its moving average. So are we going to consolidate here and make a range? If Bitcoin goes sideways, I would guess that Solana will also go sideways. And then, yeah, I mean, this is an easy one like Ethereum. Break the bottom of the range at $33. Probably going to come down to $31.50. Break the top of the range. I would expect you to come up to this purple zone and get rejected. Possibly even get up to the POC point of control here on your VPVR here to the right, which measures horizontal volume at a certain price point. That would be the highest that I think we would go. Possibly even get a wick and still close a bit back below here. Like I said, best case scenario is this is double bottom. Worst case scenario is that you break this pretty quickly because Bitcoin looks like shit. But we still could get a bounce, but we'll find out. It's either we're going to get the bounce here and then resumption down, or we're just going to shit the bed now and continue down. All right, let's go to the 4 hour for Solana. Deep in the bearish, well, in the bearish control zone. Fresh cross to the downside of the 0 line. Not looking good. Oh, shit. All right, so your BBWP is printing a high read above its moving average. So it's either we get back below that moving average and consolidate here on top of this 100. Basically, if we break the 100, which is at the bottom of the range, I mean, we come down to the POC on the 4 hour, 3160, right in this purple region. Definitely stay on top of these purple regions if you're able to draw them on your chart, because very good support and resistance levels. We plan them out ahead of time, far ahead of time. That's why we stay ahead of the curve. We know where the support levels and resistance levels are. That's why we map all this shit out. Yeah, let's continue. So yeah, like I said, bullish case, we break 200, 35.80. I don't see that happening, but that is the bullish case. If that happens, I do think we go up to $41. Bearish case, break the 100, get a bounce, 31.60. Ultimately, I think we would end up at $25 or $26 over time. You're going to have a bounce at each one of these purple regions. And yeah, probably a big bounce at each one of them. The high support levels. All right. Let's move on to, let's check out the DXY. So the DXY pumped yesterday as the market dropped. Now we're probably going to get a pullback down to the 21 and the 50, which looks like it's happening now at 109.16. All right, so right now you are in the neutral zone above your signal line. MACD fresh cross to the upside of the 0 line. While your BBWP is, I mean, the volatility is high on the dollar. This shit's bouncing back and forth like crazy. Printing a high read above your moving average. I do think you come back down here to the 21, the 50, and the 100. But you are getting a multi-crossover. So if these start to fan out, I do expect the dollar to break this last high at 110.59 region. Now, one thing to note, this is not the dollar strength. This is the dollar strength compared to a basket of other currencies, most weighted by the euro. So the euro has most of the weight in the basket of currencies that this is compared to. So it's not the actual strength of the dollar. It's the strength of the dollar compared to other currencies. All right. So, but there is some legitimacy to it, you know, of the strength of the dollar. It's just not, you know, what the dollar is actually worth. It's compared to other currencies. Let's go to the 1 hour. Yeah, it kind of curled over there. Like I said, you will probably come down here to the 50 on the 1 hour, which would also coincide with the 21 and the 50 at 109.17, 109.18. Yep. So MACD fresh cross to the downside of the signal line. Negative momentum's increasing on the histogram. Plowed out of the bullish control zone. Tested the signal line, cracked down. BBWP is about to cross its moving average. Volatility has begun. Same thing with the crypto assets. You know, here it comes. You know, be ready. Let's move on to the S&P. So the S&P gap down. All right. And so now we have a big ass gap there. And we did fill this gap like we were talking about yesterday. We did fill this gap. We gap below. We gap right through this gap, which, you know, we might not fill this for a while, if at all. This might be a runaway gap, which not all gaps have to get filled. You know, most of the time exhaustion gaps get filled, but runaway gaps can go without getting filled. So all your major moving averages have the retest and the multi-crossover right here. You're in the bearish control zone, deep in the bearish control zone. MACD fresh cross to the 0 line. Negative momentum is increasing like a motherfucker. And BBWP is printing a high read at above its moving average. So you're finding support at these last lows, of course. But if you break this last low at 38, basically 3,900, I would expect you to come all the way down to 3750 region. Let's go ahead and put a purple box there, because this is where I'd be looking at. Yeah, I mean, all the way down to there if you break these last lows, which is going to, correlate with the Bitcoin market. A lot of times the stock market is a leading indicator for the crypto market. Sometimes it's the opposite, but most of the times it's the stock market before. NASDAQ, similar story, almost looks similar, or it almost looks exactly the same. You gap down, and looks like you're closer to these lows. So, no, actually you're not. Yeah, you are. All right. It's a similar story. Really don't have to repeat what I just said. Basically all the same variables. And yeah, so that's about all I have today. If you guys like this video, like and subscribe to the channel. Check out the links in the description below. Join the Discord. Everyone have a great morning, great afternoon, great evening, and I will see you tomorrow.